think I made the biggest mistake in the world by selling that car. I got rid of the gull wings, which was the biggest fail Pagani could have had. The Mistral, I looked at it for 5 seconds and just passed on it. I think it was a big fail. Here we are 2 weeks after Monterey Car Week 2022, and what an amazing car week that was. We got 4 new wicked hypercars, as you will call it, and today, September 12th, Pagani released their brand new Utopia. Now, before we get into that car and what I like and don't like, let's talk about what happened at Car Week, right? Now, before we do that, just think 16 years ago today was essentially the release of the Bugatti Veyron here in America, and with a $1 million price tag, it was the epitome of automotive excellence across the board in power, comfort, speed, every category Bugatti won. Now, in 2022, I think we have at least 10, 12 different options for cars that would be considered hyper. I guess the definition that I'm gonna use for hyper is more than $1 million, right? The base price of these cars are not $1 million anymore. They're closer to $4 million, right? The brand new Bugatti Mistral, which I think was, in my opinion, the biggest loser of Car Week. I think it was so anticipated and it was so hyped that Bugatti was going to create something. They always said, we're never going to make a convertible Chiron, and they didn't make a convertible Chiron. They made a roofless car that looked like a Devo, right? And $5 million. Now, obviously, Bugatti has no issue selling these cars, but if you're a Bugatti owner and you have a Chiron Pure Sport, a Chiron Super Sport, a Devo, a Centrodici, then now you have the Mistral. What is the limit? You know, last year Bugatti brought out the Bolide, which was absolutely breathtaking. The design was phenomenal. The power to weight ratio was incredible, 1,650 horsepower. I couldn't even believe that was even a real thing that Bugatti would make. I mean, literally, like, that blew my mind. The Mistral I looked at it for 5 seconds and just passed on it, because not only do people never drive the Bugattis in the first place, but at $5 million, it doesn't have a roof. And I don't think the Audi group has learned their lesson that the Centenario Roadster, the Veneno Roadster, or the Sion Roadster all come without a roof, and I don't think that they're very desirable. Yes, people buy them, but they never trade hands after that. You know, it's because they depreciate, right? And a lot of manufacturers don't want to make a depreciating asset, especially in those categories, because it limits their exposure for the next time. But Bugatti, for some reason, decided to make a roofless Bugatti Chiron, and I think it was a big fail. Comparing to Koenigsegg, who brought out the CC850, which was just perfect. It was literally perfect in every way. I got to see the car before they released it. I was able to secure an allocation for a car, and I think that car is, in every respect, what automotive manufacturers should use as a benchmark. Now, it uses Koenigsegg DNA. It's the original DNA from the car. I mean, when you look at the original CC8 to CCX to Agera, right, you can see that they all have the same design language. Now, the Regera and the new Jesko, they've changed the design language dramatically. Now, they obviously look like a Koenigsegg, they feel like a Koenigsegg, but they're new cars, and for good reason. I mean, we want new cars, right? I think the Jesko is probably the most beautiful car on the road today, or will be on the road today. I think the design language of that car is breathtaking. It's very extreme, but it also has this simplicity to it. And it carries the beauty so well, and in so many different variations, with the Absolute being the highest speed version and the Attack being the more aggressive street version or race version. It carries itself well, but the CC850 is elegance. It almost leaves me speechless, because I'm telling you guys, when I saw that car in the first place, and that car was explained to me about 3 or 4 months earlier, and they offered me an opportunity to purchase one, and I said, well, I really don't know. You know, the car is $3.5 million base, and yes, it's gonna have a Jesko power plant, but it'll be detuned, and I wasn't really sure, because you know, it's hard to modernize old cars, right? But the CC850 came out flawless with the manual gearbox. That wasn't told to me 3 months ago. And had I known it was a manual gearbox, I would have just absolutely said yes, no matter what. I'd have been like, yes, here's my money, take my order. But we were able to get one at the end of the car week there, which is great because that car in white or a very mild color will show beauty and it'll be timeless. And that takes us to today, where the Pagani Utopia was released. It really is tough to give an opinion because it's hard to give an opinion on a car you can't see in person. And I can tell you the CC850 looks incredible. The proportions of it don't picture as they do in real life. Now, the Pagani, I think, is too busy. Now, with the doors and the side, they got rid of the gull wings, which was the biggest fail Pagani could have had. They added the manual transmission, which was the biggest win they could have had. So I think they went in both directions there. When it comes to the physical aesthetics of the car, there's design elements that are beautiful. I think the rear section of the car is very nice. I think the exposed linear taillights with like almost like a see-through aspect to them where they're floating in between the rear fenders is a very cool design. The front's too busy. It has no dimension to it. The side of the car, the profile, kind of looks very Zonda-ish. It's got very flat lines, kind of early millennium. I was really confused by that because the Veyron was so curved and elegant. And, you know, I own a Pagani Veyron and that car to me it's gorgeous. The mirrors on the Veyron, they float seamlessly on the car. This one has like a hangman style mirror and it was just, why change something that works so well, you know? I'm sure there's a reason, but the Pagani mirrors on the Utopia are absolutely a step down. It kind of looks to me that Pagani made a cheap version or an entry-level car, right? That was what my first impressions were. The interior is a lot to take in. There's a lot of different partitions in the interior that feel out of place. The main focal point is kind of angled, right? Where it's almost squared, but then it folds into a rounded edge. I don't know. I feel like the car was rushed. The element of the modern switches doesn't really mix with the gauges, all analog. There's a lot of gauges. So I'd like to understand why so many, right? 3 is usually adequate. I think this one has 4 or 5. I don't know, the roof glass. There's just so many different parts of this car that don't really make sense, you know? So far from all the comments that I've read, I don't think I'm alone in my thoughts here. Now that car is actually affordable. I mean, when I say affordable, it's $1 million less than the CC850, but I think I would rather pay $2 million more for a CC850 versus the Utopia based on how well Koenigsegg executed the entire product. Now, like I said, the Utopia has beautiful elements to it. The rear end is gorgeous, but the profile is awkward. The front end is ugly. The roof lines are bubbly, and it has a very race car-esque folded windshield. The wheels are very nice. It's got a 22, so it's got probably a thinner tire, probably a 325. Not the best when you have a 355 or 345 options in other cars. You know, the Pagani Veyron has a 355 rear tire with only 700, I believe, and 70 horsepower in a Veyron. It still loses traction quite frequently. So with 800 plus horsepower, 850 plus horsepower, it's gonna need definitely more tire back there than less. I don't know. I think overall, if you have to compare, I would assume that Pagani needed to rush a car out to stay relevant, and they weren't prepared to do so. Is the car terrible? No. Is the car good? No. It's right there in the middle, and I think if anybody, the 99 customers that have already ordered those cars, maybe they're gonna have second thoughts after seeing the physical car in person. You know, I know a lot of people went to the factory and got to see it, but it doesn't do it justice. So I think to end this video, I've decided to kind of fanboy and really support one brand. And for me, obviously, you guys can tell that that's going to be Koenigsegg. I don't see myself kind of switching gears and having multiple cars from multiple manufacturers. I think right now, if you're in a position to buy these cars, I think sticking with one brand makes the most sense. Having a Bugatti and having a Pagani and having all these other cars is very cool. But when you have the opportunity to buy multiple products under one brand. You're able to get better allocations, better specs, unique models, unique specs. It just feels better to have a phone call. Like I can call people that work at Koenigsegg on my cell phone if I have an issue and they answer the phone, right? And that's the same for Pagani, same for Bugatti, right? Those people, they're all catering to their customers, but I think they want to cater to the people who support them the most. So for me, I want to support Koenigsegg the most, and I'll never sell my Veyron. I think that car is amazing. I think the original cars like the Wyra, the Veyron, the Zonda, of course, those cars are part of history, right? The CCX, and they can't be replaced. But I think in the future, when everything becomes hybrid and electric and technologically overkill, it's going to be a mess. So to add just one more amazing thing to the CC8, they managed to not only make it a manual gearbox, but it's got a full auto mode too, which is pretty wicked. I mean, with Pagani, you got to buy both cars. With Bugatti, you only get a DCT. So I think that out of the 3 cars here, you guys watching, I'd love to hear your opinions about my opinion, because I have very direct opinions and I'm really open and honest about my opinions, and I share them freely because that's just who I am. And I know that it pisses a lot of people off, and a lot of people go in the section and just try to give me the reasons why I'm wrong, but that's what makes an opinion. And that's the reason why there's different options for everybody. So I've chosen to support Koenigsegg, and I think in 2.5-ish years, we'll see the CC850 here in Vegas, probably the Jesco first. I think that those cars are gonna be benchmarks for the future. It's only gonna make my Agera go up in value. Hopefully by then I'll be able to track down another CCX, because I think I made the biggest mistake in the world by selling that car. And I knew I did. I knew it's Tony's fault. Honestly, guys, write him an email, tell him how much he sucks, because he kind of pushed me to sell that car and I shouldn't have sold it. I don't know why I did. It was just a moment of weakness. But I am gonna try to buy that car back and have the full line of the Koenigsegg family in my garage. That is my goal. By the time I'm, maybe 2 years from now, 36, 37 years old, I'd love to have the CC8 all the way through to the CC850. That's my goal, to get every single one of them all along the way. Not every special edition, every model. CC8, CCX, Agera, Rugera, Jesco, and CC850. That's the goal I've got, and we'll see if we can make it happen. So thanks for watching today, guys. And if you do, like the video and subscribe to see the content that's coming with these cool new cars.